All right, hello. Just figured I'd make a video here on a couple exercises that I use to train the low back. Not a lot of people train the low back specifically because I think they're worried about injuring it, which is understandable. It could be a very questionable area to train for some, but I believe if you use light enough weights and the correct range of motion, you should be fine. But I'm no expert by any means, so if you don't believe this is something you do, then obviously don't do it. But one of the first ones I like to use is just basically a stiff-legged deadlift from the rack here. I probably could set the pin just a little lower, but I already have it set for this. But it's a very short range of motion, and since I'm doing it specifically for the low back, something I like to do is just use a different grip, because obviously my grip's going to be strong enough to handle these lighter weights. So I'm just going to use a thumbless, like a fingertip grip, and it's just a very short range of motion from about the knees to about here. And I'm specifically hinging with the low back. So the low back's kind of in a neutral position, and just stiff legs, not locked out legs, stiff legs, and just about to there. And you're just specifically using the low back as a hinge. So with light enough weight, this should be a fairly safe movement. And if you've never trained this before, it should start burning pretty quickly. So it's just a very short range of motion. And I'll show it from the side here. From about here, you're just hinging with the low back. And this is not something that you're gonna probably max out on unless you've been training it for years. So it should be a fairly safe movement for most people, unless you have some kind of underlying problem. And then another one that I like to use is kind of the same. It's kind of the same movement, but instead it's with a kettlebell, and there's no motion of stopping. So you're not going to rest on the pins or anything. It's just a kettlebell swing. This is a loadable kettlebell. So you're going to use stiff legs again. Put them wide enough the kettlebell can swing in between, and you're just swinging with your low back. It's just a hinge. So you're not rounding your low back like excessively. It's just a hinge. And you can do this for fairly high reps if you've done it before, I guess. With light enough weight, you could probably do it for high reps as well, but if you never trained this, it will burn fairly quickly. So with these two movements, I would recommend like a higher rep range, just to get blood flow to your low back. From the reading that I've done, the low back doesn't get a lot of blood flow. So if you remedy that with exercise, it should help the area. But as I said, I'm no expert by any means. So a lot of the things that I've done are just from, a lot of things I've learned are just from the things I've done. So I just figured I would share with these two movements. They do help my low back feel better. If you have a job that you set a lot or something like that, your low back doesn't get a lot of blood flow. So I would recommend remedying that with some exercise. And you could, if you did just regular kettlebell swings, that would probably help as well. Or it would help, definitely. But if you want to train the low back specifically, I find that a lot of times I've had pain in my low back, and when I did some high reps of some exercises, it did help it go away. Of course, that's not going to help all the time, but if it could help, why not try it? That's just my experience. So I figured I would share. Hopefully this information is good for you. If it's not, I apologize. But on that note, thanks for tuning in. Have a good day.